Yes, everybody, Steve here from The Very Life. I am the retired hobby tech guy who does a little bit of fitness on the side, and this is part two of the Mike Van Wyck prick. Drake's ex-bodyguard assaults fitness influencer Jeff Nippard for, you won't believe this, being small and mediocre. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Now, in case of you have been living under a rock for some time, you have fitness influencers that have a lot of followers. Now, to give you a little bit of context, Jeff Nippard has over 1 million followers. Mike Van Wyck, who was Drake's ex-bodyguard, he ends up having, I think, 300,000 followers, which is nothing to sneeze at. But they got into this big beef, and actually, Mike was the one that kind of pushed this thing and saying, hey, well, all these science-based lifters and blah, 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 why are they so small? Why are they, why are they so mediocre? And blah, blah. And he's taken a dig at Jeff Nippard, who, by the way, is 5'5" and 180 pounds and looks really good. But for some strange reason, Mike feels that him being supposedly 310 pounds at 6 foot, which I kind of doubt that. I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell with the big baggy shirts that he wears. It might just be, a gut or something. The bubble gut from the HGH and all the steroids that he's done. And by the way, Jeff Nippard is a natural bodybuilder who had his IFBB card, International Federation of Bodybuilding card. He was natural. He did competitions and stuff like that. And he also has some records in Canada for bench press and squat. And, he's pretty impressive. And his whole thing is off of science-based information. So in other words, a bunch of nerdy scientists with PhDs and doctorates and, medical doctors and physiologists and all this stuff and biochemical cellular functioning mechanic people or whatever come together and they say, okay, well, hey, what's the best rep range for hypertrophy or strength or this or that? Or what about muscle protein synthesis? What about the anabolic window? Is that really a thing? Is hypertrophy only gained through, low sets and close to failure, or high number of sets and repetitions and going to failure? I mean, where they ask these questions without any preconceived ideas as for the result, and they come up with the results after doing, testing with control groups, and they come out with the information and saying, hey, here is some information that is reliable and trustworthy and true. And Jeff Nippard bounces that off, and he uses that to help people with their routines. I do the exact same thing. I went from 210 pounds to 263 pounds, and I did a 3-year body recomp, all natural. And I dived into, and Jeff Nippard was one of the people that encouraged me, unbeknownst to him, just through his videos. They motivated me along with, Menno Heiselmans and a number of other people who are heavy on the science, to get into reading studies. And there I took the information I gleaned from those studies and meta-analysis, put them into my routine, and I was able to get better gains and reach my goals faster, quicker, blah, 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 all that stuff. So another win for science. It's a great way to get on the board, and it dispels the myths of bro science, which isn't science at all. And apparently the whole deal is that Mike Van Wyck, he didn't like this. And somehow he feels that the need to call Jeff small because he's 5'5" and he's 6 foot. And somehow because Jeff is 5'5", that makes him inferior in knowledge and results compared to Mike, which I don't really understand, because there's people that are taller than Mike. So does that mean that Mike is inferior and doesn't know, and he's small and mediocre? The sliding scale of, standards is just kind of stupid. But then again, stupid is as stupid does. So we're going to take a look at some stuff here and dive more into this. Now here, Mike is actually Drake's ex-bodyguard, charged with assaulting bodybuilder influencer at Ontario Gym. Now there's Jeff Nippard. Again, he's 5'5", 180 pounds. He's got some size, and he can put up some serious weight. And there's our winner, the dick of the day, as I call him. assaulting Jeff Nippard. Now, Jeff he's not in a fighting stance. He actually had his hands behind his back, and we're going to go over what happened in this situation. But he actually assaulted him twice, and Mike assaulted Jeff's cameraman, and in a gym that has cameras in it, and we'll talk about that. So anyway, it starts off that Jeff is known for a science-based approach to bodybuilding. He has 2 million followers on Instagram, 6 million subscribers on YouTube. Wow, that's more than what I thought. Mike Van Wyck at Pure Muscle Fitness, whatever, Van Prick boasts nearly 300,000 Instagram followers, and he worked as Drake's bodyguard for several years. Okay, whatever. I'm not awestruck by celebrities. On Instagram, Nippard claimed that he was filming a bicep curl video for YouTube when Van Wyck came in and brushed by him and said, "Oh, things are about to get real funny." So automatically, what we end up seeing, and working in the prison system and law enforcement, this is a classic. This is a dick move. Okay, this is somebody who's bark, and they're just trying to flex, which I don't really understand, because Mike called Jeff small, mediocre. He didn't, he said that Jeff's information and science-based stuff doesn't produce superior results and whatever, and showed a couple of pictures, which was different because one was like a show picture where Jeff was really ripped, and then another picture later on where he wasn't as ripped, but there wasn't overhead lighting. There wasn't, it was, you can't be in contest condition 24/7, 365. And people have lives, they have different goals, and so on and so forth. So, yeah, the comparison was wrong. But, yeah, basically he just chalked it up and talked down to Jeff and said, oh, he's just a little guy, small guy, mediocre, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so anyway, it ends up, here is what Jeff says. He's okay. He said, Mike Van Wyck jabbed me in the throat twice in the middle of the gym and then shoved my cameraman. There is already a lie going around that Mike asked me to stay away from him, and that isn't true. This is false, and security footage to prove it. I think they should release it. This is exactly what happened. Again, there's two sides to every story, and then there's what the camera shows and witnesses and so on and so forth. But this is what Jeff says. He says, I was filming a bicep curl video short for YouTube. Mike brushed by me and said, sup, and that was our first engagement of the day. I chuckled. And Mike said, oh, things are about to get real funny, as he walked past me. And then I asked him, what did you mean by that? And I made sure my cameraman was filming in case he tried any funny business. Then he walked back towards me and he said, turn the camera off, and immediately jabbed me in the throat, and I fell to the floor. How stupid do you have to be to... I don't get it. I don't get it. You tell somebody that, okay, the camera is rolling, and then you tell them shut the camera off, and before the camera shut off, and oh, there's cameras littered throughout this gym that caught this, you throat punch this guy, send him to the ground, and then he turned to my videographer and pushed him against a cable machine, then he walked away. That's the full story. There's gym security footage to prove it. It's up to the gym if they want to release it. It says, as of now, Pure Muscle and Fitness is still allowing Mike to train clients at the gym. Now, some people have said that Mike was actually training a client there at the gym, which is still monumentally stupid in my opinion, but it's terrible. I mean, why would you think it would be okay to assault somebody where there's cameras everywhere, and this guy, Jeff, didn't even raise a hand to you, I also want to really appreciate the outpouring of support. I don't know why he attacked me other than he really hates my training style, which is obviously true by seeing things on Instagram and YouTube and so forth. I certainly have absolutely no reason to hate. I gave him absolutely no reason to hate me, and even if I did, there's no excuse to physically attack someone over an agreement. My opinion is that the result of anger brought on by the clip I posted yesterday, responding to his question about science-based training, which is pretty interesting. So, yeah, after asking what he meant, Nippard alleges that Wyck approached him again and asked him to turn off the camera and jabbed him in the throat. Says he stood back up, at which point Van Prick Wyck jabbed him in the throat for a second time and pushed his videographer against the cable machine. Nippard first fiercely denied rumors that Van Wyck asked him to stay away from him or that he approached Van Wyck first. Again, for somebody who claims that Jeff is small, insignificant, mediocre, why would you waste any breath or time on that? And obviously, Mike wasn't thinking. It just ends up, here you have somebody who has 300,000 followers, and then you have somebody who has 1-2 million followers or more, and you're going to assault the guy? How do you think your fan base is going to react? Now, they're always going to have some fanboys that are going to be like, oh, way to go, you put him in his place, Mike. And those are the idiots. Those are the brain-dead idiots, the sheep that follow Mike. But then there's a lot of other followers who, like myself, I liked his videos. I liked Mike's information. I wasn't a hardcore follower, but I would see his reels and videos and, think about that. And, okay, I'm going to give that a shot. Yeah, okay, that jives with what I found with studies and so on and so forth. Working to failure. And, again, there's more than one way to skin a cat, but we won't get into that. So, anyway, it ends up that here is the video that we're going to take a look at where Jeff responded to Mike. And you should find this pretty interesting. So let's...
We all know the science-based guys. Science guys really need to answer this question before anything. Why is it that you remain so mediocre, yet you know so much?
I know I don't need to respond to this, but since he asked, using science-based training, I won Natural Bodybuilding Nationals. I earned my pro card on the most competitive stage in the World Natural Bodybuilding Federation. I placed second in my first bodybuilding pro show, and while doing this, I set the Canadian record on the bench press, and I set a provincial record on the squat. I currently weigh 180 pounds at 5'5" tall, which is pretty close to my natural limit given my height and my genetics. That's all besides the point though, because facts are facts. Information is either right or wrong. It doesn't matter who that information is coming from. If the people with the best physiques had the most knowledge, why would C-Bum need a coach? He has the best physique on the planet. Who could possibly know more than him? Well, it's pretty obvious that bodybuilding success comes from great genetics and really hard training, and if you want to make it in the IFBB, steroid use. I like science because it gives me more confidence in what actually works and what doesn't, because it isolates variables. If you trust a big guy's advice over scientific studies, that doesn't bother me. I listen to what big guys have to say too.
Yeah, so this whole thing with the black and white video footage, that's something Mike does to get that gritty feel to, and when he came onto the bodybuilding scene and got his IFBB card, he had like one tat, and then that was it. And now looks like he's been in Attica and San Quentin and in a bunch of other prisons because he's tatted up all over the place. I don't really care about that. You get people that get tattoos because they want to look hard, and that's clearly the case. And if you want to do that, that's absolutely fine. But to go and seek out an individual and feel so threatened by somebody who's so small and mediocre that you felt that the need to physically assault them somehow benefited you in some way, shape, or form, mentally, physically, spiritually, financially, without any regard to consequences, shows that this guy is monumentally stupid. It is insane. In the video, Nippard defends the science-based training, blah, 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 which we just saw. The incident sent ripples into the country's fitness community, and most fellow bodybuilders rallied to Nippard's defense, although some shared messages of support for Van Wyck. But then again, you have people that support the KKK and terrorist organizations, so that's not really saying much. Anyway, it's really interesting. After increased pressure to release the video, Pure Muscle and Fitness released a statement noting that the gym has a strict zero-tolerance policy for violence and bullying, and they are permanently removing Van Wyck's access to the facility, including any privileges to train clients. So there's a little thing there. It's totally unacceptable. This individual was not employed by or formally associated with the gym. It's just like, hey, he was a gym member. He probably paid some extra money to be a trainer and to train people, or maybe the little dope deal was, whoever you bring to the gym to train has to have and purchase one of gym membership. I've seen that. They totally banned him, and hearts go out for the well-being of the people involved, which is Jeff. And the Houghton Regional Police confirmed to TMZ that they've investigated and they have charged Van Wyck with 2 counts of assault, which is probably on Jeff and his cameraman. Van Wyck hasn't issued an official statement, but has reshared messages of support from his friends and fans on his Instagram stories. Which really, we're gonna. I don't understand. You go out of your way to physically put your hands and assault somebody. It wasn't in self-defense. It wasn't because of disrespect. It's because he was a bully and he's a coward, and he was offended by a small, mediocre guy, which he claimed was small, mediocre. And basically, he ruined his chances of training people at this gym because they banned him. I hope all the gyms in Canada will ban Mike Van Wyck from their facilities because of this. Because this is not okay whatsoever. And the thing is that this isn't like somebody got overwhelmed and they just kind of snapped. No, this is clearly an ongoing problem because he's had problems before in the past, Mr. Mike. And somebody like this is, the way that this happened, it wasn't like, and then he just struck out because he was frustrated or angry or, something like that. No, he made a point to target an individual who was smaller than him, who had way more, millions of more followers, which doesn't make sense. You'd think that what you could end up doing, if Mike was smart, which obviously he's not, that he would get with Jeff, Mike would get with Jeff, and they would do a series, and they would do like a head-to-head between, hard and bro science versus, science-based training, and they could do this head-to-head thing, and then both of them could benefit from the exposure of each other's audiences to build their fan bases so they can make more money. But no, Mr. Mike's the musclehead doing the roid rage thing and obviously has problems dealing with mature people in this world because he doesn't have those faculties, and he's just not clicking on all fours. It's just not working. And unfortunately, that's what we end up seeing with this guy, with Mike. And like I said, I had watched Mike before. I liked his videos. Of course, I saw through the shtick of the black and white videos and the tattoos and the whatever, trying to look hard and stuff. I've said in the previous video that I worked in a couple of prisons for over, it was 11 years. And they were medium R prisons. I even worked at CSP in Colorado from time to time, doing little shifts there. I've been involved in some riots, and I've been around gangbangers, the Aryan Nation. I've been around Bloods and Crips and the whole 9 yards. People like this guy will scream disrespect when there actually is no disrespect at all. And unfortunately, this is what we're seeing in today's world, that if you have a difference of opinion, instead of being a mature and responsible adult and saying, well, you believe what you want to believe and I'll believe what I want to believe. And I think we need to agree to disagree. But instead of doing that, Mike goes out and assaults people for having a different point of view and belief, which Jeff can point to actual studies done with thousands and thousands of people that say this is the best way to get this type of result in training, hypertrophy, endurance, strength, power, whatever. And for some reason, Mike takes offense at that. I just don't get it. It doesn't make sense. But I will say that I've seen a ton of people in prison who have screwed their lives over because of this exact same mentality. They have no regard for consequences. They don't think things through that, well, yeah, I think it's a good idea to assault somebody who has a cameraman and in a place that has cameras. And I don't think that assaulting somebody, which is against the law in Canada, at least it still is now apparently, yeah, why would you think that would be okay? That doesn't make sense at all. It's very, very interesting because that type of mentality is the mentality that you see from people in prison. And the interesting thing is that Mike is big and bad, and he's a big guy. He's got some good size, and that's absolutely whatever he's doing is getting him to that size as far as training and a buttload of growth hormone and steroids and whatever, which is fine if you want to do that. I don't really care. But it just goes to the point where his brain cells, with every shot of Tren and Anabol and Winstrol and testosterone and whatever hell else he's taking, is reducing it's increasing the size of his muscles, but it's reducing the amount of the brain cells that he has, because to go out and do this is asinine. And yeah, it's you got to call it like you see it, and there is absolutely no reason whatsoever. It was not a smart move. Financially, physically, emotionally, spiritually, he lost his shit, and there was no peace. He lost his shit and resorted to violence. Over what? Oh, you like red over blue. I'm going to attack you. I mean, that's the type of mentality that racists have. Oh, I hate you because you're a different skin color. You come from a different country, or you're this, or you're that, or you're rich, you're poor, or whatever. I just hate you. Being taking that stereotype and then taking it a step further and saying, I hate you so much, I'm going to physically attack you and break the law. People like that, they don't learn. And I've seen prisons, years and years of working with people in prison and inmates up close and personal, and there are people out there that just won't get it. And yeah, I honestly, I don't think there's any rehabilitation for Mike. I think he's going to get to the place, and the fact that he posts support from his members supporting him, saying, oh, great job, whatever. It just shows how he is so detached from reality. It's not even funny. So anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about today, is a little bit of drama here within the bodybuilding fitness world, which, that's kind of a cheesy little picture there myself. I mean, MRI and whatever, CAT scan. But if I got attacked by somebody, you know what? There is no reason to do that to anybody, unless you're defending yourself, a loved one, or you're in war, and you have the legal means of which to go do acts of violence. In this case, this is not the case. But yeah, it just ends up that a couple of guys, and one of them does monumentally stupid stuff and the other one doesn't. Guess which one? Put it in the comment section down below, because I would like to know. And if you like the guy up top and you support what he did, there's really not much I can say other than I disagree. And we'll just leave it at that. We can be grown adults, we can have opposing viewpoints, and we can still remain friends. If you pick Jeff Nippard, then same thing. I agree with him more than I do with Mike, but definitely on the assault thing, that kind of throws it all out of whack there. Breaking the law. How would it feel if somebody way bigger than Mike came and planted his butt into the ground and throat punched him a couple of times and put him in his place with no justification of doing so? Mike would be screaming the same thing. He'd be, oh, you need to be arrested, blah, blah. So what's good for the goose needs to be good for the gander. But in Mike's case, that is not the case. He thinks that he's the bee's knees. And for somehow, he thinks he's better than everybody else just because he's 6 foot. So anybody that's smaller than him is mediocre, which doesn't make a lot of sense. And it really doesn't make a lot of sense, I want to see Mike get his ass handed to him as much as the next guy. I don't condone it. It wouldn't hurt me to watch a video of somebody putting him in his place, but I don't wish it upon anybody. But with that being said, these are grown-ass men. He needs to learn how to adult and how to be civil, because otherwise his life is going to get very complicated. And it already is. He got arrested, he's charged, he had to make bail, so money had to change hands. And then now it's going to go to court. So it'll be interesting to see how far this goes. But if I was Jeff, I would press this to the fullest extent of the law possible. And yeah, it just, it is what it is. And matter of fact, you know, it could be, you know, maybe the gym could press charges against Mike as well for assaulting one of their members. I don't know how that could work, but, you know, I don't think it would be a civil case in some matter or whatever, because now that puts a bad light on the gym and whatever, but they did their thing that they kicked him out. So I doubt that. But, yeah, it's just going to get really stupid. And prison time is probably something that Mike should enjoy. And he can go on the weight pile in the prison and do that talk and see how well how that lifestyle, how he likes that instead of being free. So anyway, that's going to be it. Put your comments in the comment section down below, and we will see you on the next video. Until then, just go to the gym, mind your own business, and it doesn't matter if somebody's doing cardio, endurance, hypertrophy, working low weight, high weight, big reps, machines, free weights, cables, pulleys, rubber bands, body weight. Doesn't really matter. As long as you're working out and getting fit and getting something out of it and you enjoy it, go do it. Who cares? As it's been said before, mind your own business. You know. Anyway, Joey Swole Cold there. Anyway, that's going to be it. We'll see you on the next video. Peace.